Hi, good evening. My name is Nair. I go by PJ, and I'm going to talk about my case study today for the Leadership and Management Skills course. The case that I have decided to talk about is Consolidated Products. The background for this case, now this Consolidated Products, it's a mid-sized firm. It manufactures consumer products, and as of right now, they have non-unionized workers. This case mainly talks about two different kinds of leadership styles. You have two managers, Ben Samuels, Phil Jones, whose styles are polar apart. On one hand, we have Ben, who believes in the fair treatment of people, employees. He wants to inculcate a sense of loyalty in the company. He wants to reduce the turnover rate. He tried to create a personal connection with each of his employees by learning more about their family, talking to them, helping them out in times of adversity, offering emotional and financial support as and when needed. This is with his employees. With the supervisors, he has a laissez-faire kind of management style where he lets them be and allows them to run their department as they see fit, without interfering too much in day-to-day operations. He does not set any kind of performance or productivity standards for them. He does not give them any kind of feedback. He does allow them a completely free hand to run their department. The good things about Ben's term was he had the lowest turnover rate, but he also had the second worst records of costs and production levels. On the other hand, we have Phil. So Phil, the pros for him were that as soon as he came along after Ben, he boosted the production output by 10%. He reduced the production cost by 20%. However, on the flip side, we had supervisors who were jumping ship, who went to other companies. There was a talk of unionization among workers, and there was also a very high turnover rate. So this case study builds upon our coursework from leadership styles, motivation, delegation, teamwork, and empowerment. Key issues here are management styles. We clearly see that if we are comparing managers as per the theory X, theory Y, school of thought, then we see that Phil fits more into the theory X. He's a theory X manager. He believes that people are basically there to avoid work as much as possible. He believes that people do not feel the intrinsic need to work. They do not feel that responsibility. Hence, coercion, intimidation, and very close supervision are the way to go. Ben is, on the other hand, he's a theory Y manager who believes that people are there at work to fulfill higher order needs, which is not just a paycheck. He believes that they're there, they want to work, they're there to work, and all they need is a little bit of guidance to reach full potential. He believes that employees want to do good work and they want to assume responsibility. Now, responses to the case questions. We have 3 questions. The first one wants us to describe and compare the managerial behavior of both Ben and Phil. So, as stated earlier, Ben is more of a laissez-faire kind of management leader. He's more of a mentor where people come to him with questions if needed. Otherwise, he just lets them be. He's very people-oriented here. So he tries to connect with them at a personal level. He tries to talk to them about their family, helps them out in times of adversity. With his supervisors, he allows them to run the department as they see fit. Now, pros of this management style are that there is a lot of autonomy, a lot of creative freedom, there's less hierarchy, less rigidity. Cons of this management style is, of course, a lack of direction, a lack of accountability, and here managers are basically monitoring things without really interfering too much or getting too involved. Phil, on the other hand, is more of an autocratic kind of manager. In this style, the manager tells the employees what to do. If the employees fail to fall in line, they face the consequences. This is reflected by how he starts the system, where he gives them one warning. If they do not fall in line, then he ends up firing them in 2 weeks' time if their performance is not up to par. Employees are also, in this case, motivated more through fear of discipline and repercussions rather than intrinsic motivation. The incorporation of the computer monitoring system is a clear indicator of strict productivity standards from a very strict disciplinarian. The company has specific work clear policies where they have to follow things. His motto is if employees don't want to do the work, then you get rid of them and find someone who want to work. Management isn't interested in hearing too much feedback from the employees, they just want the work done. Drawbacks of this style, autocratic style, are that there's a loss of creative thought, autonomy, and less trial and error. There's no room for employee buy-in or value of collaboration. Phil is more task-oriented, unlike Ben, does not like to take any effort to get to know his employees or form a personal relationship with them. Examples of him getting rid of human relationship activities like picnic parties, etc. is a clear example of that. Advantages of this management style include clear expectations being set for employees. Decision making is very streamlined. This is very useful in a dynamic work environment where you have to take quick decisions. There can be crises, there can be emergencies, and you need someone to be in charge to make quick decisions. To what extent does the manager display specific relation behaviors? So it's just asking us to expand more on their styles. Managers' day-to-day interaction with employees can be interpreted as rewards or punishments. So it doesn't have to be one meeting, it's the everyday things. Ben here uses a democratic approach. He delegates authority, encourages participation, relies on subordinates for completion of tasks, depends on their skills and capabilities. He has an advisory role where he's there to help and guide if needed. If not, he's not really setting any accountability, set objectives for them to hold them accountable in terms of product quality, productivity, department performance, any of that. There is very little objective monitoring. He plays more of a broad business organizational role of keeping everyone together, one that supports short-term. It's more of a long-term goal rather than something that supports short-term gains in productivity and profits. Ben also plays a very supportive role by, how he is there financially, emotionally to help his employees. If they are injured, he offers them a job in another department, even if they have a disability. So he is showing managerial traits like supporting, developing, recognizing all our relations behaviors. Phil, on the other hand, is showing managerial traits like clarifying, planning, monitoring. So they're specific task behaviors, not relationship behaviors. So he does not care much about employees at a personal level. He wants to get the work done, and it has to be done in a specific way. He insists that supervisors run things by him if they are deviating from standard protocol. He also has a policy of hiring and firing people, so he's not afraid when the team dislikes him because he is in charge and he has to take these hard decisions. He's all about high performance, quality control, product quality and efficiency. Is not so much people oriented. To what extent does each manager use participative or inspirational leadership style? Participative leadership is basically where the boss is asking for input from employees, and depending on that input you have different decisions that are taken with the majority vote, and with the majority vote determines what course of action the company will take. It empowers the employees, give them a lot of responsibility in the decision-making process. It's a democratic, collaborative style of management. Inspirational leadership, on the other hand, is energizing them, creating a sense of direction, purpose, excitement, and momentum for change. Neither Ben or Phil use either of these entirely in isolation. Ben shows a little bit of inspirational, Phil shows a little bit of participative, but not entirely. Compare Ben and Phil in terms of the influence on employees' attitudes. So Ben shows all employees the same amount of respect irrespective of their standing. He knows their name, which of course helps improve worker morale and loyalty. He helps the workers out in times of need, and they have a trusting relationship where there's mutual commitment to support the team. He allows supervisors to run things as per their preference, making their own decisions, learning from their mistakes. Therefore, the supervisors have a sense of autonomy in their work, and this would have improved job satisfaction, empowerment, and all intrinsic outcomes. Phil, on the other hand, did not get too involved with his employees, which may have who may have seen him as being aloof, cold, unapproachable. He was responsible for implementing a computer monitoring system for strict productivity standards, which may have seemed very autocratic. Close monitoring of supervisors and a strict hierarchical way of decision making may also have robbed the supervisors of their sense of control, autonomy, and creative freedom. This would have in turn led to stress and a lot of intrinsic outcomes for the employees. Short-term performance, Ben was more laissez-faire, so he was not too concerned about short-term profit and loss. The company saw the worst rises in production costs and abysmal revenues for that year when Ben was in charge. Phil, high productivity standards, high product quality control led to low production costs, increase in production output. In terms of supervisors, when Ben was in charge, they lacked direction. Some of the new supervisors may, without too much experience, may have perceived his lack of involvement as a lack of supervision, a lack of feedback and commitment to their job. So they would have been lost without his mentorship. Phil, on the other hand, was very task-oriented to a point of being a micromanager. He allowed the workers to give them immediate feedback on their performance, whether it was if they made a mistake or whether they did well at their job. This would help them learn faster from their experience rather than waiting until later. Ben, operations suffered under Ben. Operations were very smooth and efficient under Phil. Employee welfare, morale flourished under Ben, whereas the morale plummeted entirely when it was under Phil and everyone was thinking of leaving and going elsewhere. Long-term plant performance, Phil of course had a higher impact on long-term plant performance. There was a higher profits, but however he had a high turnover rate because of the stress and the productivity standards that he set. High turnover rate is always associated with high costs of hiring and firing, and this could have been because the supervisors lost their autonomy and intrinsic outcomes. Unionization of the workers would also lead to a lot of financial, legal, political, human resources issues for the firm, which would be an added long-term expense. High turnover rate is always detrimental to the firm and the firm image. Ben, in terms of long-term performance, he invested in human relationship activities like picnics, games, etc., which all helped in long-term employee retention and reduced turnover. Overall, loss of product quality may have been detrimental to the company image and long-term market share. It was detrimental to the bottom line, definitely, which is why he was fired. He may have set a bad standard for managers, where if a new manager who came in after him set even basic productivity standards, they would be seen as autocratic. Because Ben had such a laissez-faire style of management, it would just be relative. Now, reasons for differences between these influences. Ben was more of an old school kind of motivation manager, where he believed that contented cows gave more milk. So if employees were satisfied, then they were motivated to their job. This increased the performance. He is also a proponent of Maslow's hierarchical needs, where he believes that people need to have their higher order needs like belongingness, self-esteem, self-actualization fulfilled when they come into work. He used an indulging management style where entitlement was given preference over accountability, and this showed up in how the low performance workers under him had low performance but high satisfaction levels. Phil, on the other hand, he stressed on tasks and work and performance to the exclusion of any kind of employee satisfaction. Workers under his management style showed high performance but high levels of stress and low satisfaction. There was very little trust between management and employees. If I were the manager of this plant, how would I do things differently? I would try to use a combination of the two management styles that have been presented here. It's important that we have a healthy bottom line to keep the company running well, but it's also important to keep the employees satisfied and prevent a high turnover rate. So I need an integrated approach where employees are held accountable but they're not micromanaged. So an award system would be a great platform to award the top performing workers and supervisors. These awards would be given freely, frequently acknowledging past recipients and company culture. Discipline would also be used to extinguish any kind of unacceptable behavior and reinforcing acceptable behavior. I would make use of reprimand, redirect, reinforce strategy. Work design, I would redesign jobs to make them fit the job description better so that the satisfaction level, the commitment, autonomy, all is better. I would schedule bi-monthly meetings to get feedback from the employees and the supervisors so that they know that we care about them. Opening up channels of feedback, supervisors is also a huge key. Fostering good human relationships would help increase employee morale, and it would also help build emotional bank accounts so that we could reduce interpersonal conflicts and stressors.